Welcome back, everybody. I had a great time going around to your groups and listening to your conversations. Let's put it all together here with a class discussion. I'm going to start with you, Enoch. Enoch, according to the article and what we've discussed, what do you feel were the main driving forces that led to prohibition? And why did these people or groups of people want prohibition in the first place?
I know the people and the people besides them who are affected by alcohol. So like so it was like Carrie Nation, people like her, and
Yeah,
like people who like agree, just generally agree.
right. And so we talk about groups like the Women's Christians Temperance Union, of which Carrie Nation was a major part of in Kansas. We talk about big groups of women in general, and then later men joining them, and then them getting the power of the government behind them, and a lot of the politicians standing behind them as well, which eventually led to the passage of the 18th Amendment in 1920, right? It was groups that seemed like they were everywhere. It seemed like this was a law that had the force behind it. It seemed like it might possibly work. Without the power of foresight that we have, we can almost see it from their perspective. They saw alcohol as being a main problem in America at the time. A lot of people were drinking, a lot of men were drinking in particular, and they were drinking a lot. They saw it as leading to crime. They saw it as leading to violence. They saw it as leading to poverty. And they wanted to end it and see if this could improve conditions in the USA. But did it work, Degmo? Tell me why. What happened?
Well, prohibition, it just made people want to drink more.
What do you mean it made them want to drink more? What happened?
Because when they told them not to drink, but they still wanted to.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. So some people, like, the allure of doing something that was now illegal was going to be something they wanted to do. Remember I asked you guys to raise your hand? Raise your hand again. Raise your hand if you've ever been told not to do something, but you really thought it was okay to do, so you decided to do it anyway, right? Raise your hand if that's happened to you before. All of you raised your hand, right? And remember, all of a sudden, millions and millions of American citizens who previously were not criminals, simply by drinking, would have become criminals during the 1920s. It didn't seem to actually work, and not a lot of people were actually following the law. And what were they going to do about it? They had a few dozen prohibition officers to enforce the law in each state, and thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people breaking the law. How could they possibly enforce it? What actually occurred, Judy? How did they get around it?
So the gangsters started to form, and they started having those secret saloons. And
what are those secret saloons called? Use your key term. What are those secret saloons called? Here's a door of one of those secret saloons with a little peephole over here. What are those secret saloons, those secret bars called? Anyone remember? Shout it out if you know. Starts with an S.
Speakeasies?
Yeah, those were the speakeasies. Well done, Dangmo. They found ways to sneak the alcohol in, both gangsters sneaking in from Canada or for overseas, people making it in their bathtubs. And we've, of course, seen all these cute pictures. We see this book down here that people would hide alcohol in. We've seen canes. We've seen lots of pretty ingenious ways that people are willing to go through in order to simply keep being able to drink. Let's move to some questions that are more about your opinions. Simona, I'll have you start us off. Simona, what do you think? Does the government have the right to be a moral entrepreneur, to give in to moral entrepreneurs on things like this? Do you think the government can tell you things that you can put in your body, things that you can eat, things that you can drink? And if so, where's the line? What can they tell you and what can they not tell you?
I think other than substances that are extremely dangerous or addictive, for things like alcohol or smoking, the government can say that, oh, it's bad for your body, but they can't just ban it.
Right. So and also, I mean, another thing about cigarettes and beer, for example, these are things that a lot of societies have had as a normal part of their culture for a long time, right? it's going to be hard to stop those things from being used. So what would you consider something that would be like more like so dangerous that the government should be able to control it, Simona?
Like drugs?
You mean like hard drugs, like narcotics, right? Things like cocaine and heroin, right? And most countries in the world, like almost actually every single country in the world, would agree with you on that as well. In most countries in the world, these drugs are illegal, and there are severe penalties for breaking these laws. They're also easier to enforce these laws because they're not as widely used as things like tobacco or alcohol. Amanda, what lessons can we learn from this? What lessons can prohibition and the failure of prohibition teach us that maybe that we can learn about going forward? I ask her and she disappears. What's going on? William, help us out here. What lessons can we learn from prohibition? Is your audio okay now?
Oh, sorry, my Wi-Fi wasn't really good for a second. Now I know what you had said.
That's okay. Let William give it a try first. William, what lessons do you think we can learn from prohibition? Turn up your, I think probably your microphone needs to be turned up a little, William. Can't quite hear you. It's okay. So William, why don't you type your response into the chat box and I'll talk to Amanda for a minute. Amanda, Simona said that things like beer and tobacco, things that are commonly part of a culture, things that everyone's using, things that are not super addictive, those should be legal. But she's saying hardcore drugs, like I used cocaine and heroin as an example, these things should be controlled. Do you agree completely? Do you disagree on any parts of this?
First, I totally agree. Like those hardcore drug must be controlled. Like totally, they should. But I'm not saying like there couldn't be like light controls on things that not like hard drugs. Like there's some legal age in a lot of countries for drinking alcohol and alcoholic drinks. I mean, these type of controls can like you're not completely banning it, but you're setting limits to it, to who can have it or what price can you have it through.
Well, let me open up a question to the whole class here. How about other lessons that we've learned? So if a country is going to make something illegal, what do they have to be prepared to do once they've made that thing illegal? What's another lesson we can learn from prohibition? They made alcohol illegal, but what were they not ready to do? And who can help me out here? I saw your eyes get big, Judy. Give it a try. Yeah, go ahead, Judy. I can't hear you. You got to turn your microphone on.
Oh yeah, I couldn't unmute myself.
I
Sorry
unmuted.
about that.
You're fine. Go ahead. How were the police doing during Prohibition? Success?
No, they weren't doing good. There are also some police was also drinking behind the backs.
Yeah, remember the story we had where they went into the speakeasy and they found the mayor, people in the local government and the police chief all drinking in there? How are you going to enforce a law when the government doesn't seem to want to follow the law? And in addition to that, they didn't really foresee the extent of which people were going to be breaking this law. They simply didn't have the structure in place to enforce it. If you're going to make a law, you better have a plan to enforce that law. What are we missing here? Who wants to contribute further to any of the questions that we have above? What does the government have the right to tell you to do? What lessons can we learn? In your opinion, what substances should be illegal today? Enoch and Jessica, you guys there? You want to jump in? Enoch, what do you think should be illegal today? If anything, what substances should be illegal?
What?
What things should be illegal? What
Things that have strong addictiveness, I guess.
So you think if it's something addictive, like if something that people keep using that they're going to be hard to, but based on that, like tobacco is quite addictive, right? Should tobacco be illegal?
No, but it's not
what's
that
the difference?
the difference being then it can cause harm to others, I guess, and harm to society.
Secondhand
mean,
smoke from cigarettes, right? If you breathe in the
Mhm.
cigarette, the smoke you breathe out can harm the people around you. Still kind of fits it. What's the argument? I got to hear something better. If you're saying
if
that
it
cigarettes
doesn't
are okay, then why
affect,
are they okay?
if it doesn't like really affect others, then it wouldn't really be controlled by the government. But yeah, I guess they determined that tobacco, as long as they were using it, I don't know, they weren't.
I really,
Um,
Enoch, I really
yeah,
like
they determined tobacco to be fine.
I like the point you're making here. Who can jump in with Enoch? Why do you think it is that tobacco is legal in most countries in the world today? Even though it is addictive, it can negatively affect the people around you. Yet most countries in the world consider it to be something that's fine for people to use. Why is that, guys? Anyone have an opinion on this? Why do you think, Degmo?
Maybe because it it gives people a choice instead of forcing them not to do it.
People can choose whether or not to do it or not, but what about the people around the people that are smoking? They don't really have a choice of whether or not to breathe in the secondhand smoke. Simone, I see you there. What's up? What do you think?
I think like most governments think that it's like impossible to just completely ban like tobacco because like too many people are using it, and if they actually ban it, then there will be like a larger issue in the society.
Right? It's been part of so many countries' cultures for hundreds or even thousands of years, right? It would be so hard to get rid of in different parts of the world. And that is a lesson we can learn from prohibition. Do you think it would be a really easy task for a country to make smoking illegal if they've had smoking be legal for decades or centuries in the past? I think that's a good lesson to learn as well. Anything else before we jump into our History Made Fun review quiz?